All righty. John asks, do you think Paul Krugman titled his new book Arguing with Zombies as a troll on Robert Murphy and Tom Woods? You know, I don't know, but I did have that same thought myself. I don't know if you know, but
they don't look like zombies. It's not a good joke.
Tom Woods and Bob Murphy had this this YouTube video a long time ago where they did argue. They were talking about like arguing with a zombie. And they were basically saying how everyone in the mainstream media are zombies and get zombie responses. And then he called his new book Arguing with a Zombie. And they do a Contra Krugman podcast. So like he's definitely familiar with who those guys are. So it's quite possible. But I wouldn't be so concerned with Paul Krugman's trolling as I would be with his kitty porn.
Ooh. Paul Krugman's into kitty porn?
Well, he's claiming that his computer was hacked.
Oh, Paul Krugman looks at kitty porn.
Which is, look, it is possible it was hacked.
How'd they bust him for it?
I don't even know. I saw that he tweeted about it. That's how I saw about it.
Why would
he was like, I've, you know, it looks like my computer's been hacked or something like that, and so I've called the authorities and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Maybe his computer was hacked. Or maybe. Yeah. Okay. Casey says, with the coronavirus thing, I was thinking about how a stateless system could handle something like that. Also, thanks for all you do for liberty, you Nazi. Not cool. Not cool, Casey. Not cool. You outed me. That's what you just did. You outed me. Actually, technically, I guess I outed me because I read it. Well, I think we kind of talked about this, more or less. I mean, I don't know. I think the answer more or less is that if there's private property, people can keep you off of their property. And my guess is that when there's a fucking virus going around, not too many property owners would be inviting a whole lot of Chinese. When states run this stuff, it's not like, listen, I would see an argument against anarcho-capitalism if, say, you lived, like, let's say the government had already shut down all air traffic from China coming in, and this quarantined the virus, and it didn't spread to anybody in America. And then there were all of these like private, you know, areas who were like begging for Chinese people with the virus to come in. And you were like, well, look, see, the public sector would have invited them all in, or the private sector would have invited them all in, but then the government intervened and made sure they didn't do that. But that's not the situation. The situation is almost certainly private property owners wouldn't want people from a disease-ridden area, a virus-ridden area to come in right now, and the government is allowing them in. So I think we'd be better off.
I would live in Purell City, man. We would take all our kids, we'd send them to another city. You keep all your germs over there.
That's a great name of like an anarcho-capitalist city, too, just named after a fucking corporation.
OCD germaphobes.
Yeah, there's a man-made lake of Purell right out back. You just dive in, take a fucking swim. Okay, Shane, my boy Shane from the Hoppa podcast. Shane writes, other than what you've said on the show before, how else did your worldviews change when you became a parent? Well, you know, it's hard to, like, obviously there's been lots of, like, my worldview, if you're talking about like specific issues, I mean, obviously, like, you know, but this is stuff I've talked about before on the show, like whatever, abortion or, you know, different kind of traditional values. I think what really changed my worldview about having a parent, or excuse me, about having a child, was just, it's a refocusing of what your life is about and what, you know, what you're doing here on this planet. And I don't know that I ever, before having a child, ever really had a, like, you know, if you had just asked me, what is your purpose? Like, what are you living for? I think it would have been something like, well, I want to be a great comedian and I want to have fun and, you know, probably something along those lines. And now my purpose is just so crystal clear, is to protect and provide for my daughter. And that's it. And anything else is like a means to an end of that. In terms of my worldview, I would say for sure, I don't know what I haven't discussed on the podcast. But I would say it definitely made me more conservative in what I'd like to see happen for the future. You know, rather than just being like, oh, like, you know, if you told me there was going to be a period of, you know, dangerous chaos for 10 years.
You're 6 minutes away from a live episode of Free Talk Live. Listen live at freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates. Produced in partnership with the SNLS Network and listeners like you. Online at snlsnetwork.com. I'm Mick Murrow with your latest edition of the Liberty Beat. Gold is trading at $1,574, silver at $17.84, and Bitcoin is trading around $9,538. Today's gold, silver, and Bitcoin prices are brought to you by Brave Botanicals, high-quality kratom and CBD at reasonable prices with excellent customer service. Brave Botanicals is activist-owned and mission-driven. The Liberty Beat and Brave Botanicals believe so strongly in the power of kratom, we're giving it away for free. Just go to libertybeat.news/free kratom. This is the Liberty Beat at snlsnetwork.com. In the news, President Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross, on Thursday, suggested the deadly coronavirus that has sparked fears of a global pandemic could have a bright side, at least for the United States: more jobs.
So I think it will help to accelerate the return of jobs to North America, some to U.S., probably some to Mexico as well.
The coronavirus has killed at least 170 people in China and has infected nearly 8,000 more, as the Chinese government and other nations have worked to contain the outbreak with travel bans and restrictions. Ross's rosy assessment of potential U.S. economic gains from the virus was immediately denounced as grossly callous. Ever wonder where we find all the news to report right here on the Liberty Beat? Visit snls.news to get the world's most censored media published all in one place. Save yourself from the endless time spent searching for reliable alternative media. SNLS News makes it quick and easy. No ads, no clickbait, just raw headlines, 24 hours a day. Visit snls.news and get informed today without the corporate media spin. Your news now continues. Recent reports indicate that data gathered by automakers and tech companies could be the next front in the battle over digital privacy. Activist Post reports that in early January, companies at the CES 2020 displayed their plans for making use of the surprising amounts of data gathered by newer model vehicles. Amazon, Intel, Qualcomm, and BlackBerry were among the companies seeking partnerships with automakers who are also searching for methods to monetize the data gathered by their vehicles. Bloomberg reports that modern cars roll out of factories packed with cellular connections, powerful processors, and a growing suite of sensors, including cameras, radar, and microphones. That's turning them into the next information goldmine, rivaling the data-creating capabilities of smartphones. Bloomberg also notes that Intel announced a new stage of its Mobileye technology, which allows for driver assistance and Intel to gather data from cameras, chips, and sensors within the vehicle. Manhattan-based Clearview AI is collecting data from unsuspecting social media users, and the Chicago Police Department is using the controversial facial recognition tool to pinpoint the identity of unknown suspects. That's according to a report from the Chicago Times. And according to a bombshell New York Times report, it's also being used by the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security. Activist Post reports the software's creator maintains that it's purely an after-the-fact research tool for law enforcement, not a surveillance system or a consumer application. However, privacy advocates are saying the technology is so intrusive and ripe for abuse, its use should be immediately halted. And earlier this month, a lawsuit was filed in federal court seeking to do just that. Chicago attorney Scott Drury, who filed the lawsuit, describes CPD's signing of a 2-year, $49,875 contract with Illinois tech firm CDW Government to use Clearview AI software as frightening. Support for the Liberty Beat is brought to you by the Homestead Guru. The Homestead Guru is an educational website offering tips, tools, news, stories, and commentary on everything homesteading. Topics include green homes, gardening, animal husbandry, do-it-yourself, home remedies, alternative energy, survivalism, unschooling, and more. Those details are found online at thehomestead.guru. This is the Liberty Beat, powered by the SNLS Network at snlsnetwork.com. I'm Mick Murrow, reporting for the Liberty Beat, reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
After briefly reviewing several documents outlining his parents' dire financial circumstances today, 23-year-old Wesleyan University graduate Zach Wallace told reporters he had, quote, absolutely no clue how his mother and father are going to dig themselves out of the $35,000 of student loan debt they incurred to pay for his college education.
I mean, this is going to be really hard on my parents. When I was in college, I just assumed that, they would pay off my student loans within a few years of me graduating. But I never realized how expensive college is going to be for them.
Wallace, who graduated with a film studies degree in 2012 and has since had 2 unpaid internships, told reporters that from the way prevailing interest rates are trending, his parents could easily be paying off his debt for the next quarter century.
They're going to be paying for the rest of their lives. And on top of it all, they have to help me out with my rent, too. I mean, it sucks. It really, really sucks.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is Free Talk Live, and we are at the 2020 Alt Expo. And I guess I should say it's the first Alt Expo for 2020 because there's usually a couple of them. One of them happens during the Free State Project's Liberty Forum event, which is going on at the same time. And the other one usually happens in the summertime during the camping festivals that occur at Rogers Campground, the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. We'll talk later about Fork Fest, which is the sponsor, actually, of Alt Expo this year. ForkFest.party, the decentralized camping event that happens in the summertime here in New Hampshire. In the case of Fork Fest this year, it'll be in June 29th through July 5th. So definitely mark your calendars for that. And coming up a little bit later, we're going to talk to Jack Shimmick. He is the founder of the Alt Expo, and we'll talk about the history of this event and how many of them there have been. It's in the dozens, I believe, at this point. So he'll have all the stats and facts and information to regale us with coming up here. Aria was going to be with me today, but she is feeling very ill, so sadly she won't be making it out here. But there's still plenty, of course, to talk about. Alt Expo, as always, has a series of interesting speakers. It's basically the alternative event that goes on, again, across from Free State Project official events, and Jack is about to hand me the official schedule, as official as things get for Alt Expo, if it comes from Jack. So we're actually up first. So what we're doing today is kind of our usual thing when we're out and about. We don't do a live show during our live hours, but we do record the show live, meaning that there's not, well, first of all, we have a live audience, but secondly, we're not taking time to edit these segments. We do the interview, we put it in the can, we send it to the network, and they get it on the air. So thanks to the folks over at Genesis Communications Network for making this possible. I see Ernie Hancock is on the list of speakers later on today. He'll be talking about freedom to talk, and that sounds like a perfect discussion for Ernie Hancock. So if he shows up during our recording hours, we're definitely going to grab him and get him on the air, and we'll see who else we can snag as well. It's actually a 2-day-long event, so if you're listening to this on Saturday evening and you're in New England, and you're coming up to New Hampshire, you want to check out Alt Expo, it's happening throughout the day tomorrow as well. So you do have plenty of an opportunity to get up here. It's happening basically 10 a.m. to close. So just in the evening, 10 to the evening tomorrow. There's I guess looks like some mixers, discussions, possibly some panels, open mic time as well. So it's definitely not too late for you to get up here. Alt Expo does not have a cost associated as far as if you want to come attend it. It obviously, Fork Fest had to pay for the room, but that's it. And you can come in for free and watch the speeches and meet the speakers and talk to some cool people here, folks who appreciate certain alternatives. Now, one alternative that is becoming more popular these days, of course, is cannabis. And when I say alternative, I'm talking about for medical use. A lot of people have used cannabis for medical purposes, and it has been a lifesaver for folks. People swear by using cannabis, and of course CBD, which is related, one of the chemicals that's active within the cannabis plant. And also, of course, THC, the active psychoactive ingredient in cannabis. It's been a long history and a slow, brutal slog towards legalization of this product that began in the late 90s. I think it was 1996 when California, the voters there passed their proposition to legalize medicinal cannabis. And it was a historic time that they did that.